Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and joining me today is Brian Thiessen, who is one of the candidates for mayor in this fall's election in Calgary. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Okay, let's talk about your first priority if elected mayor. What would that be?
First, I think we need to start by rebuilding the relationships at City Hall and with whoever is elected provincially or federally. So the dysfunction of the last 4 years doesn't stall Calgary's progress again.
Hmm.
Second, we need to tackle Calgary's biggest challenges, which are housing and public safety. That's why we released our housing and safety toolkits early because they're top priorities for the Calgary Party and Calgarians, and
Hmm.
they're deeply connected. So, safe streets and enough housing are the foundation of a city that works. And then, third, I think we need to start doing the hard work of getting our financial house in order and earning back an A on financial transparency.
Okay, let's talk about, you mentioned housing, and one of the big issues, obviously, in the last year or so is the blanket rezoning in the city. Would you repeal this if you were elected mayor?
No, I do the much harder work involved in fixing rezoning. I get it. The easiest answer in the world is to just say you'll repeal it. But I want to be straight up with Calgarians. We need to streamline our building permits and approval processes. So, my approach is to let the experts on the City Housing Committee do their work, direct them to listen to Calgarians' concerns, execute an 18-month review, and fix zoning. Other mayoral candidates want to take us back a decade to a zoning system that doesn't work and doesn't address the issue of 100,000 people coming to Calgary each year.
Hmm.
Uh, I understand that we're going to have to earn back Calgarians' trust in City Hall that this council has lost. And we're going to have to work with Calgarians to address their legitimate concerns about their neighborhoods and help the housing committee develop a better zoning system that addresses issues like mid-block eightplexes and parking. If we take the temperature down, I'm confident we can work together, reach a compromise solution that gets to the real issue, which is building more housing faster and cheaper.
Hmm. Now, one of the other big issues in the city over the last number of years, because of the population growth, has been the infrastructure, roads, water, transportation. First of all, what do you think of the state of our infrastructure right now, and what's your game plan for it?
Well, let's start that we're in a massive infrastructure deficit, which was created by previous councils, this one and the one before, um, uh, trying to give everyone what they want, keep property taxes down, and not investing. So much of our infrastructure is aging or stretched thin by growth. From the water main break to overcrowded rec centers, Calgarians are living with the consequences. So we have 40-year-old recreation facilities. We have 22% water leakage from our water system. That compares to Edmonton's, which is 5% of their treated water. Calgary loses almost a quarter of our treated water, and we have overcapacity libraries. So my plan is to align infrastructure around housing first so that transit, water, and road investments support growth where people actually live. Will set ambitious but realistic timelines, reduce redundant costs with citywide contingency budgeting, and cut disruption by coordinating projects across departments. So, if we prioritize infrastructure tied to housing growth, so roads, transit, sewers, and water, implement a recreation capital fund, so a 10-year infrastructure roadmap to fund game plan, and with our citywide contingency reserve, we need to stop padding budgets and manage our costs transparently. So we also need a build smarter policy. Dig once, so all the utilities are coordinated at once, co-locating facilities and reducing disruption.
Mm-hmm. What about the Green Line? What's your position on the Green Line and what should be done there?
The Green Line is overdue and over politicized. We need to get the full north to south line built, and we need to sit down with the province and the feds and have the funding, construction, and implementation plans ready to go. We need to get it done. returned to the underground route, and built to the north. That means phasing construction to maximize ridership quickly, protecting against further delays, and keeping the long-term vision intact. A modern city needs modern transit, and Calgarians deserve to see shovels in the ground without more years of uncertainty. Jeremy Farkas was the lone no vote on the Green Line LRT when he was on council. And while this and the previous council delayed a decade, the cost of the project doubled. And that was due to the dithering by this city council, the previous council, and the province. That project cost will double again if we don't continue to fail to make it the priority that Calgarians deserve.
Hmm. Now, Calgarians aren't happy about taxes these days, and the level of taxes. Do you pledge to hold the line on taxes for people?
First of all, Calgarians are right to be frustrated. Taxes are up and services don't feel any stronger. I won't make empty promises to hold the line. I think that's fiscally irresponsible and frankly reckless when you don't know about things like major water main breakage. I promise to be accountable for every penny of tax dollars spent, making sure I stretch every tax dollar and implement audits and financial controls and reporting to make sure we're fully responsible and transparent to Calgarians for every dollar spent. And I'll focus on reducing inefficiencies, cutting red tape, keeping more property tax dollars in Calgary rather than Edmonton, and prioritizing core services like housing, transit, and safety. But this is a pet issue of mine, and I really want to speak about the 35% of our property tax dollars that are paid by Calgarians like you and me and go straight to the province. Billions of dollars raised here, but never invested back into our roads, transit, housing, or police. The province takes 1/3 of Calgarians' property tax dollars every year, despite having income tax, royalty revenues. They take a third, they pick our pocket for a third of our tax dollars. And on top of that, the province has cut funding for policing and social services, shifted costs like housing, homelessness, and mental health onto the city budget. That means we're paying twice as Calgarians, once through our property taxes and again through declining services. So instead of respecting Calgary's role as Alberta's economic engine, the province is holding us back with a 20th century model that doesn't reflect the realities of a modern growing city. So
Hmm.
I'm going to demand a new modern municipal charter with stable funding, fair tax sharing, and real autonomy. By fixing the unfair deal with Edmonton, Calgary can invest in priorities that matter most to us: housing, public safety, recreation, and infrastructure. I think Calgarians' property tax dollars should be spent in Calgary on Calgarians and their priorities.
Hmm. Let's talk a little bit about City Hall and how it operates. A lot of people frustrated that there's too many people there. The costs are quite high running City Hall. Building permits, take a long time. You talk to developers, they'll tell you that. What do you think of the actual operation of City Hall, and what would you do about it?
Yeah, I think businesses and residents are both feeling the drag. Permitting does take too long. The processes are confusing, and we've been layering on red tape for decades. You look at the situation in Marloop, that's embarrassing and damaging. We're trying to retain our status as a world-class city. At the same time, small businesses are closing because City Hall can't get its act together on infrastructure projects that they're leading. So my business access plan fixes this: clear timelines, introducing digital permitting, automatic approvals if the city or city departments miss deadlines, and a concierge service to help small businesses navigate City Hall. We really need a City Hall that works as hard as Calgarians do. We're going to introduce online permitting with live dashboards and auto approvals if deadlines are missed, a 3331 framework, timelines of 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and 1 year, depending on project scale for housing approvals. Concierge service, a one-stop business desk for businesses that are trying to get permitting, a regulatory review task force to cut all these outdated rules. Our goal is to make City Hall a partner for small businesses, not a barrier.
Mhm. Let's talk about public safety, which is another big issue that Calgarians are talking about these days, whether it's on the LRT itself and or on the LRT platforms or even just downtown in the heart of the city. You see crime, you see a lot of different things happening. What would you do about this, to help alleviate the crime and public safety issue in this city?
So this is an absolute priority for me. Our public safety toolkit is one of the first policies we released, and it's kind of a three-prong policy focus: a housing first strategy, 24/7 mental health and addiction supports, integrated and housed with transit police and the Calgary Police Service. So safety has to come first. And as a former chair of the Calgary Police Commission, I sat down with the entire CPS executive and proposed those three priorities to them and asked them what they thought of them. I also sat down with the 30 of the mental health and addiction agencies working and providing those supports in downtown. And
Mhm.
they all agree housing first, 24/7 mental health and addiction supports integrated with CPS and transit police is the right way to focus. And CPS told me they worked on it for 4 years and it never got rolled out by this city council. So it's not only the right policy, and the experts and public servants in the space, like Calgary Police Service, agree with it, but we can implement it on day one. We can push for design safety, so visible security on LRT stations, increased CCTV and lighting at transit stations, expanded transit police, and putting them back on the trains and not in their cars, integrated with those outreach workers and mental health supports 24/7 with transit police and CPS. So safety is about prevention as much as enforcement. Downtown, we can coordinate with police, social agencies, and businesses to bring back the sense of safety and pride in our core. And that's essential as we invest billions of dollars into an arts and entertainment district, the Glenbow Museum, Arts Commons. We have to get public safety right. And we have a detailed public safety toolkit to execute on that the CPS agrees with and we can implement on day one.
Mhm. What's your position on bike lanes? More to come?
Bike lanes are they're part of a balanced system. They make sense when they improve safety, connected communities, and complement transit, but they need to be planned with residents and businesses, not imposed without consultation. So it's about giving Calgary more safe ways to move around, whether by car, bike, or train. Um, I will say that the conversation around solutions like bike lanes is a municipal issue, and cities absolutely should be making decisions about local infrastructure like bike lanes, not the province. I find it bizarre that the province cares about bike lanes more than they do about their pending $6.5 billion budget deficit. Um, it's like Danielle Smith wants to be mayor with the level of local decision making interference to the nuance of whether we have bike lanes alongside our roadways in Calgary. I think the province should probably step back and let municipal leaders solve this. It's a reasonable issue that we can talk about and we can figure out where they're appropriate and where they're not.
Mhm. What's your opinion of the performance of the current mayor and of city council in the past few years?
Let me start by telling you what I've heard from Calgarians at the doors there, because their opinion is really what matters. This is the least popular mayor and council in Calgary's history. Uh, Calgarians at the doors say that City Hall is defined by dysfunction. Trust is deeply fractured. Citizens' trust in City Hall has dropped 12 percentage points since 2021. Only 38% of Calgarians say they trust the city right now. Nearly half of residents feel municipal City Hall isn't reflecting their priorities, and fewer than half think they get good value for their tax dollars. So Calgarians are frustrated with the missteps like the water main crisis and the secret of arena deal and the hundreds of millions of taxpayer money left on the table in that negotiation led by Sonia Sharp and the mayor. Our city is increasingly divided and making consensus and nuance harder to achieve. And we can't afford any more leadership that sows distrust. That's why I prioritize rebuilding trust through visible leadership, open communication, and collaboration, delivering results. I'll work for and answer to only Calgarians, and I'll get the job done.
Last thing, Brian, and maybe you've talked a little bit about it already, but why should people vote for you?
I'm a proven leader who listens and acts. I see the job as a public servant role, an opportunity to give back and serve my community, which I love deeply. I've built a remarkable team of candidates running in every ward of the city with the Calgary Party, and they have the talent and policy depth to govern from day one, a clean slate. The Calgary Party shares the belief that politics is a team sport and that together we can bring a bold, practical vision that makes Calgary safer, more affordable, and ready for the next million people. Trust requires consistency and follow through. I've led as police commission chair on the board of Ronald McDonald House and as a national law firm managing partner by listening, collaborating, and solving complex issues, not by posturing. I'll rebuild the bridge between City Hall and Calgarians, clearly communicating my decisions, inviting input, and delivering on promises. We have toolkits ready from the Calgary Party on housing, infrastructure, and public safety. They're ready to implement now. And I really believe that practical solutions are needed that address the core concerns and restore confidence of Calgarians in City Hall. Calgarians deserve a City Hall you can trust. I've earned that trust with results, and I'm ready to rebuild it with vision, integrity, and accountability.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much, Brian, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that was Brian Thiessen, who is a candidate running for mayor in fall's Calgary election. Thanks for joining us today.